Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's event with CircuitStream and the University of Melbourne. Before we officially kick the event off, I am going to just familiarize everybody with the platform that we're on here today. And I guess before I do that, I'll check as well. Can everybody see me okay? Everybody hear me okay? Feel free to interact with the emojis, give me a thumbs up, perfect. Or you can go in the chat log there as well. Awesome. I also like to check where people are joining us from. I'm assuming most people will be joining us from Australia here today, but I personally am from Alberta, Canada. That's where our company CircuitStream is initially founded out of. Calgary, Melbourne, awesome. That's two answers I was kind of expecting to see up there. So perfect. So thank you so much for joining us here today. I'm going to get into this session shortly. Before I do, another Melbourne, Newcastle, Melbourne, Perth, amazing. Welcome everyone. Sydney. So before we get into the full session here, Adelaide, just waiting for that one to pop up too. The chat log's in the bottom right corner. Obviously, you guys are familiar with that. You can see you're using that right now. Right beside it, there is a questions tab. At the end of this session, we are going to go through some Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat tab, or more importantly, put it in the questions tab, and we can kind of answer as a class at the end, is what I always say. There's also a polls tab right beside that. The polls tab, I will have 3 polls throughout the presentation today. The first one should be dropped into there right now, so feel free to fill that out. And then throughout the presentation, I'll drop a couple more in as our guest speaker is speaking and going through the workshop portion. So without further ado, I will kick off the actual presentation here and kind of get things started. Let's bring this up here. So I can start off with a little bit of an introduction of myself. My name is Tyler. I'm the marketing event manager at CircuitStream. I've been with the company for just over 2 years. Before this, I worked in travel and tourism for about 10 plus years, and I am a video game enthusiast myself. We will also have Indi joining us, and not too long here. Indi is the instructor manager at CircuitStream. He has already been researching the tools for the Apple Vision and is planning to incorporate this into the curriculum later this year. He's very excited to share how you can get started developing with Apple's new headset in today's presentation. Indi just said hello in the chat. Before we hop into the presentation, I did want to take a quick moment to address the elephant in the room. Unity just recently made an announcement with some changes, and based on what I've seen, not many people are super thrilled or excited about the changes that they've made. CircuitStream, we're a Unity customer. We've been a Unity customer since we were founded in 2015. So we're also very shocked by this change when it was announced. But having said that, it is really positive to see the community come together, rally so strongly, voice concerns surrounding this, and it definitely promotes discussion and acknowledgement from Unity side. In fact, they've already announced that they've heard everyone's concerns, and they're going to be making a follow-up announcement very soon. So it's very likely they could be retracting some, if not all, of what they announced. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But the cool thing is that CircuitStream, we use Unity as one of the tools to teach development. But the reality is that the skill sets that we teach within Unity can also be transferred and used in other development platforms as well. I was just taking a look at what you'd shared there in the chat, Indi. Join it there. Perfect. Yeah, we have a session that we will be running at CircuitStream tomorrow. It's going to be probably quite early in the morning for people located in Australia. I think it works out to be about 5 a.m. your time. So I think we will have a recording of it that we can save. 6 a.m. Yeah, but if you're up early, if you are interested, you are certainly welcome to join that. It's just going to be kind of an open discussion around the changes that Unity's kind of discussing at the point. I shouldn't say has announced, because they're probably going to make some changes as well. So just that, I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledged the Unity announcement, because it's kind of relevant in the industry that we work in here. And I'm going to kick off the presentation here and give a quick overview of who CircuitStream is. So CircuitStream began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators who are pioneering the virtual and augmented reality ecosystem. CircuitStream saw a need for education and training that would empower people to build Unity and XR applications and advance the industry's frontiers. We now partner with industry-leading companies and leading educational institutions such as the University of Melbourne to offer courses and training to those looking to learn more about emerging technologies like game development and XR development and XR design. You can see some of our other partners here on the screen. Collaboration between educational companies and research institutions fosters innovation and provides students with access to high quality education and resources. Industry relevant curriculums that are aligned with industry trends and demands ensure that students receive education that is important for their future careers. Universities are hubs of academic and professional networks, providing students with the opportunity to connect with peers, professors, and professionals from various fields. This partnership now adds University of Melbourne to the list of global partnerships that we have with CircuitStream to deliver XR development, XR design, and game development education to students. So just a little bit about the new partnership that we have. You can see the badges on screen here that you would get as you take the 3 courses and complete them here. I'm going to jump in with some information about the industries and opportunities within this space before I officially hand the mic over to Indi to do the workshop portion of the presentation here. Some of you may already know about XR. Others may have heard the recent buzz around the Apple headset or the Meta 3 Quest headset that was released earlier this year. I'm just going to go over a brief overview of the industry here for everyone. So XR stands for extended reality. That encompasses virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. The XR industry has grown immensely in the last few years and has made its way into a wide range of other industries such as gaming, film, music, manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and many, many more. Many companies are using XR for training simulations, interactive customer experiences, project visualizations, learning experiences, product development, virtual tours, and so on, so on. There's many, many examples. Today's presentation is all about the Apple headset. With the release of this device, the XR markets that we have already seen growing rapidly are going to continue to grow even faster with the increased competition from Apple. So far in this space, we've really only seen Meta kind of dominate everything. So I'm personally very excited to see some other real competition enter the arena. I'm sure other people are as well. The primary roles in XR are usually grouped into either design or development. I'm going to share some of the differences here between the 2 roles for you. So XR designers are primarily responsible for conceptualizing ideas and experiences, planning visuals through storyboarding and prototyping to ensure optimal user experience. On the other hand, XR developers take these design blueprints and implement them to build the XR applications or experiences and utilize the coding to bring it to life for the end users. Developers and designers generally work closely together, or someone may have both skills and be able to design and develop an XR experience from start to finish on their own. The University of Melbourne now offers both of the courses in both of these areas in partnership with CircuitStream. So I'll share a little bit on the actual courses themselves, but the XR development with Unity and then the interaction design and prototyping for XR would be the 2 10-week courses there. The XR industry in Australia is consistently gaining momentum with increased adoption in sectors such as gaming, entertainment, healthcare, and architecture. XR is increasingly being used in education and in training programs. Schools, universities, and businesses are leveraging VR and AR technologies to create interactive learning experiences and realistic training simulations for students. There's also some stats here on the screen. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the presentation here. This whole presentation will be recorded and sent out to everyone who's registered. So if you want to take any notes, you certainly can. If you're taking some screenshots of some of the stats, you're certainly welcome to, but you will also get a recording of this at the end, just in case you do miss anything there. Perfect. And I think we had a question there about some live captioning. And I think Indi just kind of answered and mentioned that we will have the recording at the end there as well. So hopefully that helps. And let me know if I'm speaking clearly, if I'm speaking too quickly or anything. Just let me know. I can certainly pace myself a little bit better there as well. In regards to the gaming industry in Australia, it has a thriving game development and design scene. Opportunities for developers and designers to create and publish their games, whether for PC, console, mobile, or VR platforms. There are currently over 2,100 game studios located in Australia, with a 69% increase in hiring and $284.4 million in income generated from these studios. The recording will be good, and I'll embed it for the live caption. Perfect. Amazing, amazing. And just keep me posted in the chat there if you do have any questions. If you need anything, I'll keep an eye on it there as well. So, so that's a little bit about the opportunities in the gaming industry in Australia. Becoming a game developer or designer can be a rewarding career choice for individuals who are passionate about gaming, for those who have a flair for creative and interactive experiences, problem solving, and technology. On screen, you can see some of the top reasons why people choose to work as game developers and as game designers. Perfect. And I'm going to share a little bit about the XR education available through the University of Melbourne later in the presentation. I'm going to go through the courses in a bit more detail. But because this presentation, we only have everyone here for about 60 minutes or so today, I just wanted to share this initially and let everyone know how they would access the courses if they were going through the website. So the website links for all three of the courses are going to be shown at the bottom here. And I will share these in the chat later in the presentation as well. When Indi's up on the stage, I'll take the moment to throw those into the chat there for us. But once you get to the website, this is kind of what the website page will look like. And then, of course, we've got the enroll and we've got the download the course outlines just for the arrows showing there. So just so you know how to kind of navigate once you get to the website. Similarly, this would be the same one, but for the interaction design and prototyping for XR course. And that would be the link there at the bottom for this one. And then finally, this is just what the page would look like for the game development bootcamp. Again, the enroll now and the download course button would be right there for you. So, and now, without further ado, I am going to stop rambling here, and I will invite Indi up on the stage so that he can officially begin the workshop portion of the presentation here today. He's actually doing a favor for me and adding the links into the chat for us right now, so he might be just a second. Thank you so much, Indi.
Sorry about it. I actually pressed the wrong button.
Oh, that's okay. And you were putting the links in the chat at the same time, which was very helpful. So welcome, Indi. I will let you officially take this over and begin the workshop on the Apple Vision Pro.
Of course. All right. So thank you for the great introduction about me. My name is Indi, and I'm the Instructor Manager here at SekiStream. So let's jump into the talk of Apple Vision Pro. But first of all, I need to, because all of you are in, I need to give a little bit of a lecture, right? A little bit of a lecture similar to what we actually do within the classes, and then actually show you what actually Apple Vision Pro is and how it's different from other XR devices. So let me talk about the Apple Vision Pro. Right. So as you can see here, this is, it's you might have seen this before. This is what, in WWDC, this is what came out in that developer conference. And also they talked about the Apple Vision Pro a lot in the very recent September event, which is, the Apple iPhone event. And they mentioned that they're going to be using their new Apple iPhone to capture photographs and different kind of live events so that you can visualize them in Apple Vision Pro. It's kind of like a collaboration between the Apple Vision Pro and other Apple devices. This actually narrows down to their ecosystem, right? So they do have an ecosystem of operating systems. So anybody who has built applications before for iOS, macOS, or any Apple devices, any designers who has designed Apple, anybody who has used Figma or something who has designed apps for Apple iOS or macOS, you can put a thumbs up. Like there is this emoji button, there's this react button. You can just put a thumbs up. Anybody out here? Yes, awesome. There we go. There you go. Awesome. Yes. So, if you have done any sort of a development or any type of design, you might have seen that their ecosystem is pretty much similar, right? For designers, you may have seen that, in terms of design-wise, their buttons, the UI, everything is pretty much similar, right? And also for developers, right? If you have developed any sort of an iOS or Apple application, you know that you are pretty much using the same ecosystem. Right, so they have, they have macOS operating system, iOS operating system for Apple, iPhones, and iPad operating system, which is pretty much the extended version of iOS for iPads. And they also have other operating systems like watchOS. They have another one called tvOS, different operating systems. And quite recently, they released a new operating system called visionOS. right? And it also uses the same programming language called Swift UI. So let me just quickly talk about some of their tools that are available to create applications for Apple. The tools are like, you can see, we can use Unity. Unity is, being one of the like widely available tools to make 3D applications. Apple has also partnered up with Unity to integrate their Vision operating system applications, right? On top of that, they have other tools. There is another tool called Reality Composer Pro. I will show how it looks like. And also they have, if you have built any Apple application, you might have seen Xcode, right? Xcode is the application or the tool that all the Apple developers use in order to build Apple applications. So apart from tools, we have something called frameworks, right? So this might be a little bit confusing if you haven't heard of this before. They have frameworks. They have, they're using a framework called Swift UI, which is pretty much the same UI that you can see in iOS devices and Apple other devices. And they're using the same UI system in their in their Vision, Vision Pro, visionOS applications. And also they're using a couple of AR-based frameworks. One is called Reality Kit, and the other one is called AR Kit. Okay, so now different frameworks, different tools, and what do we have here? There we go. Let's go to a demo. Let's go to my legendary whiteboard, and let's talk a little bit about how Apple Vision Pro works and how AR and VR works in general. Okay, can you all see my whiteboard? Put a thumbs up if you can see my whiteboard. Awesome. All right. Usually, like I like to use the whiteboard because it's old school, pretty much convincing for everybody. All right. Apple Vision Pro. Not just Apple Vision Pro, XR. What is XR? So as you know, we can divide XR into two different things. Right? So X means it's kind of like a common term for AR and VR, right? AR and VR. So in augmented reality, right? AR means augmented reality, while VR means virtual reality. Right? So what does it mean by augmented reality? Augmented reality means you're basically looking at the physical world. You can see the actual world, and then you augment something, right? You may have, if you have played a game called, what is it? I cannot remember. So there are like things called augmented humans, right? Augmented humans means getting more like extended capabilities, right? So augmented reality means you can actually see the physical world, and on top of that, you can see things, objects floating around you. Yeah, Pokemon Go is like, Pokemon itself is not an AR application, but Pokemon Go, people knew about augmented reality by playing Pokemon Go. Right? It was pretty good back then. This was around, I think, 2014 or 2015. I think 2016. That's the period. But people got to know about that, right? And also, yeah, Snapchat filters, right? Those are augmented. You augment a dog tongue and a dog ears. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? So that is what happens in augmented reality. Virtual reality, on the other hand, is completely immersive. It just replaces your whole physical world into a different world. That's called virtual reality. So AR, VR, like, there are two different terms. If you want to build AR apps, it's not the same way how you build a VR app. People might be saying things like that, but we teach the principles in our courses, and we don't really rely on frameworks and tools, how to integrate. We just teach you what happens, right? So let's learn what happens in AR and VR. So let's just consider a small virtual world, right? So we're going to be having a virtual world, and I'm just going to draw it using arrows, right? So consider this as a high school mathematics lecture, right? Sorry. Okay, so usually we use something called a Cartesian plane. Now, in this case, it's a 3D Cartesian plane or a 3D Cartesian board or world to represent a 3D world, right? So we have different axes. We usually call this x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So this is like a 3D environment. So in this 3D environment, I place an object, right? I place an object of a happy being, right? This is a happy being in the 3D space, right? So usually we call this the origin, right? We call this the origin. And with respect to that origin, this happy being is somewhere, right? This happy being is somewhere in the space, right? And we usually use XYZ to denote the location of that being, right? Happy being is in some location, right? So usually we have some sort of an XYZ. That is how we know, right? Everything is mathematics for a mathematician, right? So we have that in somewhere in the virtual space. Now, what we do is we get this origin, and in the origin, what we do is we place a camera. Whoops, wrong color. We place a camera, and the camera is now looking at this happy being, right? Okay, so what does the camera see? Let me just get a small picture right here, right? So this is the viewport of the camera. What does the camera see? The happy being looking at somewhere else, right? Because you're looking at this from a different angle. The happy being is there. So now this virtual camera, it's not an actual camera. It's not something that you can see in your phones, nothing like that. This is a virtual camera which is placed inside this virtual world. So now what we do is let's just say that we have a mobile phone, right? A mobile phone has its own camera, right? So Apple iPhone 15, it has the same camera as Apple iPhone 14, which is the same camera as Apple iPhone 13, which is the same camera that you had in Apple iPhone 12, right? So you pretty much have the same camera, whatever it is. This camera, right? This camera right here, it captures the actual world. So let's see, we have a tree, right? We have a tree, and this is my phone, right? And this guy is now in the physical world looking at this tree through the camera. So now what does this camera see? Let me just draw all the way over here. What does this camera see? It sees a tree. Not in the virtual world, not in 3D. This is in actual physical world, right? The London Junction. This is the London Junction, the tree in the London Junction, and you can see the tree just like this. Now, what happens in AR? In AR, right? What we do is we merge this together. We merge this together. We have the physical thing and we have the virtual thing. We merge this together. So what we do is we get this camera, right? And we get this camera and we align the movement of the cameras together, right? So you can see there's a lot of processing going on. We align these two cameras together. In the 3D world, let's just assume that this is the, let us assume that this is the viewport of the camera. What we do is in 3D world, we place a plane, or let's just say a screen, which projects the tree. Like if you just scan something around, right, you're not seeing anything in 3D. You're basically seeing a flat screen, right? A flat image, a flat picture. So what we do is we kind of, fix this back plane behind the 3D model, right? So what you can see is the happy being not in the virtual world. Of course, it's in the virtual world, but what you see is basically it's in front of the tree, right? So you will see a virtual happy being through your mobile camera. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? For some people, it's pretty hard to convince a little bit of 3D. But if you can make sense, I'm happy, right? So this is the whole thing in augmented reality, right? Whatever the tool, if you use Unity or Unreal or like whatever the tool that you use, this is what happens, right? So if you want to build something like this, that's a tremendous amount of work, right? How do you align the movement, right? These devices have sensors called gyroscope. There is another sensor called accelerometer, right? And there's another sensor called Hall sensor or something, which is, magnetometer, not a Hall sensor, my bad. Magnetometer. It can recognize your alignment, right? So those are the same sensors that are used, like when you turn your phone around, like the screen flips around, right? So the same sensors are being used for this as well. Plus, like if you're using a new device like the Apple iPhone Pro, they have a new sensor right here, and it is called a LiDAR sensor, right? A LiDAR sensor can immediately track the world around you, and and kind of it can also map the same exact world into the virtual world. Right? So it's a two-way thing. Those are a lot of things that we discuss in our courses, but this is the basic thing that happens in augmented reality. So what is virtual reality? Virtual reality is being used by a lot of VR headsets, right? So these VR headsets also, like let's just consider a standalone VR headset. They also have those sensors: gyroscope, accelerometer, and magnetometer. And on top of that, they have sensors which also tracks the world around you. This is because they need to track the movement. It needs to track the movement of you in the physical world, so it can replicate the same in the virtual world, right? For an example, let's make another virtual world quickly. And this is Indi in a VR, wearing a VR headset. Right, pretty happy, right, in VR. He's a pretty happy guy, right? And we have the origin here, right? We have the origin, and we have some, we are in a 3D world. Now this is the 3D world. We have different 3D models around. We have a 3D avatar here of a different, of a friend, right? In the metaverse, we have a 3D avatar in the metaverse. So now what happens is Indi in the physical world moves around. He looks up and down. He looks sideways. He jumps, right? All of these things happen in the physical world. So all of the sensors, right? We talked about these infrared sensors, the gyroscope and everything. Everything will be transmitted to the virtual world, right? So in the virtual world also, we have a camera. So usually you can see, we have this thing called floor, right? This is where the floor is. And there is a way that we can assign the floor to the origin. So what happens is, it takes the offset, the height of you as the offset, and it lifts the camera up, and it moves the camera based on your physical movement. So now what happens is you're in a virtual world, right? You look up, and the virtual camera in the virtual world also goes up, right? You jump, that also jumps up. So it's kind of like a synchronization in between a physical input and the virtual movement, right? So that's some sort of mathematics going on there as well. So in here also, you can see there's a lot of processing, right? You have to calculate the sensor data. You have to move it. That's a lot of stuff. This is where we use all these game engines and frameworks, right? Usually the device manufacturers doesn't just build the device and hand it over to you, build stuff. They don't do that. They usually take time to create something called API, right? Let's call it APIs. Or using APIs, they build something called SDK, right? SDK means development kits, right? Software development kits. API means application programming interface. Big words, but those things are pretty easy for us to use in our tools. So Apple Vision Pro is kind of like a mix of both. It's primarily a VR headset. Sorry about it. It's primarily a VR headset, but it also has augmented reality capabilities, because if you can see, Apple Vision Pro is a two-way pass-through device, right? It has cameras in both sides. And while it has the capability to perform as a virtual reality headset, it also has 12 cameras around itself to capture the world, so it can project with all the all the 3D models around. This feature is known as pass-through, right? So here we are seeing the whole thing through a flat screen. It's not very immersive, right? It's just you're looking the thing through a flat screen, and if you look away from the device, you cannot see the happy being. Right? So to see the happy being, you have to look through the screen, which is good. It's very immersive. You can just walk around. It's pretty cool. But if you are wearing an Apple Vision Pro or the latest Quest 3 by Meta, whatever the device it is, it has this capability called pass-through. So it captures that world and it kind of projects it in, right? Same thing, same principle, right? Okay, so this is all about a very brief introduction to augmented reality and virtual reality in terms of a technical perspective. I will quickly show you some of the tools that I mentioned in the presentation slides, just to show of how I built a small simulation. I'm not going to show you how to build it, but I will show you the tool that I used to build it. The first one that I'm going to show you is called Reality Composer, right? You can go to, so I moved from Windows to Mac quickly, right? It's magic. I used to be in Windows and now I'm in a Mac device. So this tool that you're seeing is known as Reality Composer, right? You can still, like even now you can use it. You can download this to your iPhone device or to your iPad, right? Reality Composer. And also this is available in your macOS device, but you have to download an application called Xcode, right? So you have to go to the App Store and then search for Xcode. It's a big file. Just search for Xcode and install this, and then you will get this Reality Composer Pro, right? But if you don't want to wait, you can just download it to your Apple iPhone. So what I have here is a very simple implementation of a solar system, right? You can see a solar system. And doing this is very, very straightforward, right? You can click the plus button right here, which says add. And from here, it has a library of different 3D models. You can also import 3D models separately to this tool, right? So for example, if I need this bagel or the donut, I just drag and drop it. Boop, there you go. I have a donut, right? If I want to scale this up, then what I would do is I would just increase the scale. Now I have a big bagel, which is bigger than the sun. So anyway, what we can do with this is we can combine different interactions. For an example, I created a very simple interaction to the sun where, let me just show. It's called behaviors right here. You can see. In behaviors, you can see I have created different behaviors. In scene start, you can see how it starts an animation, right? It starts an animation the moment that I click play or when it is running in AR. And we have different behaviors, right? We have something called behaviors where we can bind certain actions. For an example, I created a behavior called, basically it has a trigger, and the trigger is tap. I tap on this object, right? This is the object. I use the whole solar system for this. And if I tap it, it will show me this is the sun. So I have a different object which gets activated, right? So by default, it's hidden, but when I tap it, it gets activated, right? So this is a very, very simple implementation that I did. You can also create a new project, and you can make it, as you can see, this is the 3D world, right? I explained that we have a 3D world, and basically this is that 3D virtual world. What Apple does is they change this black environment to the actual environment, right? Let me quickly show you what this looks like in my device, right? This is the same way that it's gonna be in Apple Vision Pro as well as iPhone. I use my iPad to record this because for obvious reasons we don't have a Vision Pro yet. Let me quickly show you how it looks like. All right, so as you can see here, I am going to tap on the sun, and there you go. The sun popped up, right? If I tap it again, it goes. If I tap it again, it pops up. And also you can see the whole animation, right, of the sun and all the other planets. It is pretty straightforward. It took me like about 10 minutes to build the thing, right? I had the 3D models, of course. Obviously, I didn't make all the 3D models, but it is pretty straightforward. With the Apple Vision Pro, Apple also released a new application called not Reality Composer, but something called Reality Composer Pro. This is like an extended version of Reality Composer, right? So before this event, I just took like a couple of minutes to set this up, because like this is not available through the Apple App Store. You have to download the beta version separately at the moment, at least at the moment. But they have new components, right? They have behaviors. They have something called shader graph, where you can create custom effects. That's like if you have used Snapchat, Lens Studio, things like that, you may have seen different effects, right? So you can use this thing called shader graph to create your own shaders. And just like that, you can add music to this. Like the Reality Composer, it did not have the capability to add music, but here you can do that, right? And also you can there is this thing called a particle emitter, so you can attach different particles. And as you can see here, both the tools are pretty similar. There are differences because this is an extended version, but the concepts are similar. Let me quickly show you how we can use Unity to build something simple, something similar. So now there's, from Reality Composer to Reality Composer Pro to Unity, like I use 3 different tools. But as you can see here, in Unity also we have a 3D scene, right? This is the virtual 3D scene. And as you can see, I'm using something called XR Interaction Toolkit. It is a framework that is provided by Unity to quickly build AR and VR applications, right? And also I'm using something called AR Foundation, which is also an SDK that is built by Unity, so we don't really need to worry about everything, and it's already there. So what we have to do is we have to think of our own design, our own implementation, and reuse this already made components to build our application, right? So as you can see, I have the solar system here. Okay, for some reason I cannot move around, but there you go. This is the solar system. I have the sun, and I have all the planets, right there. This is the sun. These are like different other planets. And also you can see something called the XR origin. If you remember, I talked about the origin point. I talked about origin, right? XR origin in Unity, or like we call XR Interaction Toolkit, is the floor. It is basically this point right here. This point right here. So this point is going to be mapped to the origin, right? And what you can see is this virtual main camera. You can see right here. If I move this camera around, this is what you can see, right? This is what the main camera sees. And when I move my virtual camera, and you can see we have a black background, right? So when we move this into an AR device, what happens is that that black background is going to be replaced by your actual camera output, right? Nothing else. It's going to be replaced by your actual camera output. But let's just look at some of the components we have here, right? So we have something called AR Camera Manager here. There is something called Tracked Pose Driver. you can see a small component. This is the component that actually tracks your eye position. You can see we have something called center eye position. And the center eye position of your VR headset or your device headset or Apple Vision Pro headsets, it's going to be transferred into this camera, right? It is attached to the camera. So this is the component that moves around, up and down, rotate around based on the sensors. So we don't have to do anything. We just have to add this component to the virtual camera, and the virtual camera is going to move around. That is the whole idea. So I'm not going to show you like everything to how to implement this with respect to our time, but I will quickly show you a demonstration of how this looks like in AR. Right, so there we go. Sorry. So you might feel that this is a little bit similar, but it's a little slow, right? It's slower than the previous version, but it pretty much works the same way, right? You can see I'm moving around in my apartment. The sun is there, all the other planets are there. And basically what's happening is I'm looking through the camera and the whole background is replaced by the camera input. And also because there's a virtual camera moving around with me, with my phone or my iPad, I can see, or it's more of an illusion, right? That illusion has created us to see the this implementation, right? So to make this, I use Unity. I used their own SDKs, provided by Unity called AR Foundation, and I used another one called XR Interaction Toolkit. So those are the things that we are talking about in our course in terms of a tool that we use to implement our ideas. And during the WWDC Vision, in the Apple Vision Pro event, they mentioned that they are going to be using the same, the same frameworks to build on to Apple Vision Pro, right? So I'm not sure if I can see this, but no, it's not here. So if you have the latest version of Unity, you will be able to publish this to Apple Vision Pro. I think I have a different version installed that uses Apple Vision Pro. So it is pretty simple, right? So right now I'm using iOS to demonstrate this, but just like that, there's going to be a new platform called visionOS right here, which does the whole thing and you do the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting is going to be already done by Unity and all the other partners. So this is a very, very basic introduction to AR VR and how different tools act the same way, right? Tools are different. Tools can be obsolete. That's what happened, even with Unity, right? Even Unity pulls off their tool. We definitely can move on to another tool because it's pretty much the same concepts, pretty much the same principles that we're going to be using to build our applications. So with that, I end up my demo and I'm going to hand over the stage back to Tyler. Tyler, are you here? If you have questions, I'm putting. Oh, there you go.
I'm here. Yes, sorry, my computer's just doing its normal thing here. So thank you so much, Indi. Let me make sure this is good here. Just want to share the screen again and get the presentation back up for everybody. I was trying to do that before I came back up on the stage. There we go. There we go. And Indi, you can just stay on mute there for a minute if you like, and I'll get you back up in just a quick moment here and we'll do some Q&A. But for now, perfect. For now, let me share a little bit more information here. There we go. So, oh, you know what, Indi, I'm going to have to skip through some of these here. There we go. Perfect. So I'm going to share a little bit more information about the courses. I'm going to start off with the pricing information for everyone because that is, of course, very important information. So actually, we have a special attendee offer. I forgot I should share that with everybody as well. So for everybody who's attending this session here today, we are actually offering 15% off of all 3 of the courses that are available through the partnership with the University of Melbourne. So this would be for the 10-week XR development with or design starter package. This would be for the this should be the XR development course, the XR design course, or the game development bootcamp there. And those are the 3 prices that you would see. The top price is the starter package. The second price should actually just say the plus package there. Yeah, there it is. And then the bottom one is for the bootcamp. And with the 15% off, the 3 price points that you would see would just be in the columns off to the right-hand side there. I know I shared this earlier in the presentation as well. Oh, it said no voice. Can you hear me okay right now? Maybe give me a thumbs up in here if you can. Okay, perfect, perfect. I just saw the no voice there and I was kind of worried people couldn't hear me. So I know I shared this earlier in the presentation. This is the website, the University Melbourne website. This would be for the XR development with Unity course. This is the link here. I think I shared these in the chat a little bit earlier, but Indi, if you don't mind, if you have these links available, feel free to throw the links back into the chat again here for me. Excuse me. So yes, this is the course. If you are looking for the course outline, if you want to learn a little bit more, or if you're looking to register, you would just go to this link and you would just click on, whichever one makes sense for you there to learn more or to enroll for the course. Similarly, this would be the same website for the interaction design and prototyping course. I can see Indi just shared that one as well. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat here, I apologize. And then the final one would be the game development bootcamp. That's the website link there. Just gonna clear my throat. There we go, that's a little bit better. And Indi can throw this one in the chat too if you happen to have that one. There we go, perfect. So that's the website links. These are the upcoming course dates. So we typically run the course every few months. The upcoming cohorts for all 3 courses would be October 2nd for the XR Development with Unity course, October 3rd for the Game Development Bootcamp, and January 8th for the Interaction Design and Prototyping for XR course. The 15% off would be available for all 3 of these. If by chance, if you reached out and any of these cohort dates were completely filled, or if you were really interested and you wanted to register right away, but you just weren't available for these dates, let an admissions person know. We can take a look at the next available date, make sure, of course, that there is still availability there. And usually we're able to apply a current promotion for the next upcoming date past the current one that we have here as well. So just let us know if you have any questions. I think I've got some contact information here. Let me put this into the chat here for us. So if you have any questions, you can book a meeting directly with the admissions team here. I just put the link into the chat log there. If you click that link, I think it takes you right to a page where you can fill in your information and book a meeting with one of our admissions people. Just ask any questions that you have about the course. We have payment plans. We have lots of different things available, so they can kind of go over that information there with you. And that's it. Without further ado, I will ask Indi to pop back up on stage here, and we'll just take a quick look through, see if there's any questions that we kind of missed during the presentation. And I'll close this one because we don't need this screen up here. There we go. Perfect. So just having a look through the chat log first, just to make sure that we didn't miss anything in here. There's a question here about what is the price for the XR design course. I just shared the pricing there. Lisa, hopefully that answered the question for you. But if not, if you want to take a look at any of the pricing options or the payment plan options, which we also have available, just reach out to the admissions team directly and they can definitely answer that there for you. I'm just having one more quick look, make sure we didn't miss anything here. Yeah, I think we're good. In your demo, did you catch this one earlier, Indi,
Yeah.
the lag one? You did? Perfect.
I did.
Okay. Awesome. Quick question. The course will include development with or without the devices. Do you mean with a headset?
Yeah, both the XR design and XR development courses require at least an Oculus Quest. So I know that the Oculus Quest 3 is out, but I'm using Oculus Quest 2, and even an Oculus Quest 1 works if you can find one. Because you're going to be building, you're going to be developing applications, and we don't want you to be left behind without a device. So we recommend that you buy one.
Yeah. So to answer your question, that the devices wouldn't be included in the course cost. We have had some,
no.
oh, No. So I was just answering the question there. But what was I going to say now? I lost my second train of thought there. So, it's not included, but we have had many students take the course. Like Indi said, I mean, it's ideal if you have a headset. It will allow you to test the applications that you're developing and designing. You can use a HoloLens too. Yeah, I can see that in the chat there. So, but we have had students start the course and not necessarily have a headset right away. If you're looking at investment wise and you're looking to invest in one side versus the other, ultimately we would recommend that you do get a headset eventually, but you can start the course without one, because most of the education you're doing would be through the computer, through Unity, through Unreal. But like Indi said, it's going to give you that. We don't want to leave you behind. We don't want you to feel like you're left behind. So the headset's definitely going to help you interact a lot more in the course with that. So for the extra development, will you go through how to get the experience onto a Vision Pro via Unity?
So as I told you, I was using some packages, right? I was using something called AR Foundation, and I was using something called XR Interaction Toolkit. Both of these frameworks are going to be used for Apple Vision Pro. That's what they mentioned in the WWDC and in their documentation as well. Like if you read the documentation, they say that they're going to be using same. The funniest part is Apple Vision Pro. They don't consider that as a virtual reality headset. It's pretty fun. They don't mention augmented reality or virtual reality anywhere in their presentation. Instead, they're going to be calling it immersive. The augmented reality is going to be immersive, spatial computing immersive. I mean, we know that it's augmented reality. And instead of virtual reality, they say fully immersive, fully immersive spatial computing. So whatever it is AR and VR, but we are using the same platforms, and it's going to be pretty much the same thing, pretty much the same. They don't use AR because AR and VR has had its has had its ups and downs, and people they think that people might not like it when they directly say AR and VR, because everybody's saying everybody's an AR VR company, but Apple is not. They are immersive spatial computing.
Plus that's very much just in the Apple brand to do something completely on their own and separate, recreate the same terminology that's used everywhere else and create their own for it, I guess. But let me see. That looks like there's a question in the questions tab here. Are the courses Commonwealth supported? Can you add it to HECS in Australia like you would with a uni course? That is a great question. I'm actually not sure. I would have to look into that and see. Indi, you posted this one. Was this a question that came out of the chat? Yeah. So we would have to, I'd like to get more information on that and connect with whomever it was who asked that question. Just because this partnership's a little bit new for us, so we're still learning a little bit of the landscape in terms of the financial support and what would be available there. So if you are still in the room here, maybe just make yourself known in the chat who it was that asked that question. Or Indi, if you know where it is, maybe just grab the name and let me know. But we can do the other question here in the meantime. Looks like this one's for you, India. India, we've got HoloLens 2. I have a HoloLens 2 and I've been developing in my own time. What course do you recommend for an intermediate developer?
So since you are already using HoloLens 2, then probably, I'm not sure whether you are using Unity to build applications that runs on HoloLens 2. But we are not using, like in our course, we are not covering HoloLens 2 especially because it's not like beginner level. You had to jump through a lot of hoops. Yeah, some hoops to actually run this on your HoloLens device. If you want to know some design elements, I would recommend taking the design course, because it's not intermediate, but it's more onto the design field rather than the development field. When it comes to development, we are using AR Foundation and we are using XR Interaction Toolkit by Unity to implement custom interactions. But we do not focus on HoloLens. But if you want to know how to implement different logic, if you want to learn, like, as I said in my like whiteboard presentation, whatever it is, AR or VR or whatever it is, what you do in this 3D virtual world is basically you implement logic. It's just the background that changes, right? It changes the background to your camera input, which makes it AR. It changes the background into like a different virtual world, which makes it virtual reality. But whatever it is that you build, the logics are pretty much the same. If you want to like touch one object and light it up, you have to implement some sort of a logic, right? So you have to code, and for that, I would recommend our game development bootcamp. It's a bigger course, but we touch all the fundamentals of object-oriented programming, data structures and algorithms, design patterns, solid principles that you use in programming. It's kind of like a mini computer science degree where we touch all the coding components so that you can build performant applications that uses HoloLens or like any other new device that comes in the future. Our philosophy is of all of these courses, like we use Unity to do this, to teach. But every time that we do that, we focus on the fundamentals and the theories behind it. Even right now, what I did, right? So like, it's a whiteboard thing, and you now understand what happens in the virtual world. So just like that, what we do in our bootcamp is pretty similar. We talk about how different things work and how and why they're implemented like that, which makes it more eye-opening. It's not like a follow-through how-to tutorial, right? Because this is somebody in person teaching you all the concepts. And the thing is, the devices change, platforms change, everything changes. Tools change. Tools charge more money, so we have to switch to another platform. So these things happen. But the theories, the principles, it remains the same. That's why I wanted to demo you as well. I used 3 different tools to implement the same thing the same way, right? So we have to be more device and tool agnostic. So if you want to learn like more into like programming stuff, I'd recommend the game development bootcamp. Of course, we focus more on games, but games means interactions, interactivity, implementing logic, which can pretty much be implemented to any application, used for any application.
Absolutely. I always say we teach skill sets. That's what I always say. And I can see Ross in the chat there, that you had mentioned that you were the one that asked a question about the Commonwealth support. So we can find out more information about that, but we do have deferred payment plans available directly through CircuitStream. So if that wasn't available, I know that we definitely have options for you where you can pay smaller amounts over a longer period of time versus having to pay outright for the course. So that's definitely an option. So if anybody has any questions about any of those things, that's where I encourage you, just book a quick meeting with the admissions person. I'm going to throw the link one more time into the chat here for everyone. There we go. And yeah, if you click that link and book a meeting with them, they can answer really quick questions for you. They'll chat with you for 2 minutes or an hour, whatever you need basically to go over your information. And they can definitely let you know the best options for payment plans and things. So it's funny, as I'm doing this session, I'm noticing, because it's later in the day for us here than some of the normal sessions we do, Indi, the light in the background behind me is changing throughout the presentation. It's just funny. It's funny watching. It's not dark yet, but are they available as a part-time course? So the 10-week courses would almost probably take up about the same amount of time in your life as a part-time course would. Whereas the boot camp would definitely take up a little bit more time. I'll let maybe Indi.
But everything, all of our courses are part-time. They're not full-time. A boot camp, it runs 2.5 hour, like 2.5 hour classes every week. And like bi-weekly, we have lab sessions. And the rest is your own time. And our classes are usually on evening time. So like even if you're working after work, you can do the class, and then you can spend your own time working on the assignments that we have. and it's completely assignment based. And the other thing about the bootcamp is, on top of the technical component, you have a separate career course as well, where like if you want to change your field, if you want to jump into game design, game development, or any sort of a development side in terms of like 3D 3D development, then the career course also, like, our career coaches are also going to support you throughout the whole 6 months. And at the end, we have a capstone project. That is where we actually evaluate you for the certificate. And once the capstone project is over, you can use your capstone project or any sort of a individual project that you have done to showcase in our pitch day. So we have a separate pitch day where we gather up all the all the different employers who will give you a role in their company. So basically, you're going to be there. You're going to be pitching your project to them, to show them like, this is what I did. And throughout the whole process, we are with you in the bootcamp. But for the 10 weeks courses, it's a small thing. It's there's going to be instructors as well. That is also going to be assignment based, and there's going to be instructors waiting to help you out. And on top of that, you have if you're taking the plus package of the XR of the 10 weeks courses, then you will be able to meet instructors individually. And let's just say that you're working on your own personal project, and if you need any support, you have an instructor there to help you out in a live session just like this.
Yeah, and our community is amazing. You can support in the community anytime through Discord, through we have students that have never met. They take the courses, they connect during, and now they've been chatting for months, for years afterwards, developing game projects together, doing things. So the network is a huge component that you can lean on for support as well. And then, I see chat. There we go, perfect. And then would using Xcode to develop for Vision Pro preferred over Unity, or all the features of hardware would be accessible via both?
So based on their documentation, you will not be able to access camera input, even if you're using Xcode or Unity. But you will, through the SDKs, you will get access to some of these sensory data, but not everything. And the preferred way of, obviously, for all the devices, all the hardware devices, the preferred way is to use what they provide you natively. So if you're using Xcode and Swift UI, and that's going to be the way to build applications onto a Vision Pro device. But the learning curve is big, right? You have to learn Swift UI. You have to learn how to code everything. There can be some components that are already set up for you to reuse, but Unity is a cross-platform device, a cross-platform tool. What you build for Vision Pro, you can build for Quest. If you have already built something for Quest, within a couple of clicks, you can put it into Vision Pro. If you have already done a Vision Pro application, you can convert it to run on your iPhone or your Android, right? So it is cross-platform. So the amount of time that you spend building for different platforms is going to be drastically reduced. And also on top of that, they build their own components that are reusable, and you can use them. Like the demonstration that I showed you for all the three, each took less than 10 to 15 minutes for me to build, provided that I have all the assets and all the graphical parts. But yes, so Unity as Richard says, the cross-platform benefit of Unity is why we are here. We are all here, right? So we are in a dilemma to use Unity or to move forward with another tool. But if you want to learn 3D development, I mean, regardless of how the pricing of Unity would be, out of all the tools that are available right now, having used Unity for over 7 and 8 years, Unity has been the one that's super easy to get along for somebody who's a beginner. Like all the other engines, they have the same concepts. And once you learn Unity, once you know Unity, it's pretty much easier for you to like jump into a different tool. It's like you are learning Photoshop, and then if Photoshop decides to cancel it, you can quickly jump into a different tool and get the hang of it. I think designers can vouch for me. There are a lot of design tools, right? So just like that, if you know the principles, you know what you're doing. That's what we teach. It's a matter of learning the tool, reading the documentation to jump in. Because even if you teach the tool, let's just say that we switch to Unreal Engine and we taught you Unreal Engine. What happens if Unreal Engine decides to like charge you $1,000 per month? It's it's crazy, right? So, but there's always going to be something new, something different, which uses the same principles, but which allows you to quickly switch. Doesn't matter. We know what we doing. We know what we're doing, right? We can just quickly jump in.
Totally. I can see, I love seeing this in the chat too, just people already interacting and kind of connecting on what they're hoping to build. I've seen this like at several events, and then I've seen students sign up afterwards, and I've seen them go through the course, and now I see their conversations afterwards, and they think back, remember when we first connected at the event and we were talking about having similar interests? It always cracks me up. I love seeing the connections in the chat here. So, and I've got another question here. As an educator, is it realistic to hope to be able to build VR experiences for students through these courses, or is that too big of a project for one person? Oh, you're muted. No, you're still muted. Oh, Indi?
So sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I've been talking sorry about it. So yeah, as a matter of fact, yes. And it's not too big project for one person. I shared a link here. It's a video recording of a similar event that me and Brandon did 2 years ago. And what we did was live session, we built a small chemistry lab experiment. I'm pretty much I pretty much like chemistry experiments. This is an experiment that I did when I was in high school, and this is something that I loved. It's called the what is it called, the fuel test, right? So what you do is you have like small chemicals, and you kind of put it into a Bunsen burner, and you can see the color. So with the color, you identify which element that is, and we ported that into a VR application. So and it took like less than 2 hours, right? So if you know the tool, and if you know how to use the SDKs, and if you know the ways around of moving the 3D, moving 3D tools, then it's pretty easy for you to handle.
Yeah, and the other side too is the networking component. I mean, I always lean on this, but we have a lot of students that come through our courses, and they learn the core concepts of what they want to learn for, whatever application it is that they're looking to develop. But oftentimes they'll end up working with a couple other students in the same class or just through the server. Because the fact of the matter is, as a developer, you might need a little bit of input from a designer when you're building things, and vice versa. So, to add additional support to what you've asked there, you might be able to do it solo, but you might also have a team of people going through the course or through our server that would be able to support you, and the instructors. I mean, the instructors can obviously help you with that stuff as well. So yeah, let me just see if there's any other questions that we missed in here. I think we got them all. I think we've covered everything in the chat log there. So I guess I can say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today. If anybody has any questions about CircuitStream, about the partnership with the university, about the courses that are available, please do let us know. I believe we are going to be running a secondary event for the partnership with the University of Melbourne, bring in some additional guest speakers. So look for that. We'll do some sort of announcement for that in the next couple of weeks or over the next month or so. But otherwise, stay tuned, look at the CircuitStream website. Feel free to register for any other sessions or events that we have. Book a meeting if you have questions about the courses, and from Indi and myself and everybody at CircuitStream. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We love having you all with us. So thank you so much. Bye. Bye, everyone.